Ever notice those little impulses you have? Before you know it, you're checking your emails, picking your phone up again, putting it down. 2 seconds later, your hand is reaching for that mobile once more. With social media, emails, the digital space really, we end up being drawn into it way too easily. An hour later, you come out of the rabbit hole and can't remember what you were really meant to be focusing on in the first place. I'm sure that you recognise that. Well, it's what Anthony Ongaro calls the twitch, and it's something that I've been researching how to beat. In this video, I'm going to talk about ways of decluttering, digitally decluttering. I'm sharing some of the simple changes that I've been making to my to-do lists, my emails, my digital engagement with social media and how I use my phone, to the way that I organise the space that I'm in to stop myself getting so distracted from the things that really matter. It's based on some minimalist ideas, and right now I'm going to take you through ways of adjusting your digital life for a much more focused, productive time. It's still there, look at it. Honestly, it's calling me. Hi everyone, my name's Simon. This is Better Creating, where I'm helping people simplify their creative lives. So whether you're a hobbyist, interested in being creative, or working in the creative industries, this channel's for you. I'm covering everything from simple living to productivity, creativity, and some stuff around film and video. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. It's the best way to make sure that my videos pop up in your feed. It's free, and it means we stay connected on YouTube, which can only be a good thing. Thank you also to everyone that's been subscribing over the last couple of weeks. It's been really wonderful seeing the reactions to the videos, particularly all the stuff on Notion. And if you haven't checked out my productivity system that I've been building in a series of videos on Notion, do take a look at that. It's really relevant to what we're talking about in this video. There are 3 areas we're going to look at briefly today. 1, decluttering your digital spaces. Number 2 is about tricks for staying present in the real world, ways that you can organise, plan and focus your time and how you engage with things to stay more present in the moment. And the 3rd is about something called conspicuous consumption. So I want to talk a little bit about how minimalist thinking and minimalism can inform the way that we approach being a little bit less distracted by the hunt. Well, I've been finding that busy schedules, long to-do lists, lots of ideas that I'm holding in my head, cluttered spaces and impulsive digital habits, there it is still calling to me, have all been having a massive effect on creating a more unfocused and distracted life. I think these kind of distractions reduce the chances we have of a calmer, more creative period of time being in the moment with whatever it is that we're doing. And that's what we're trying to change with some of these simple tips. Now for this first trick, I definitely need to credit Matt Diavella on his YouTube channel for this. It's one of the first videos I watched when I was starting to think about how to declutter, and it's brilliant. So it's a simple idea of taking your phone and planning out the way that your screens work. Now something you can do is simplify your digital triggers. Keeping a really simple home screen where what you're doing is removing all of the social media and also your email from that first page. Now what that means is when I open my phone, I'm not immediately drawn to just automatically click. And actually I've put all of my social tabs into that single place so that I can go there purposefully and intentionally when I want to. You can program your phone so that you can make it go black and white with 3 clicks. I find when it is in black and white mode, I don't tend to be drawn in. It doesn't have that same effect on me. So here's how to turn on that black and white function. You're going to go into settings. We're going to go right down to the middle here and go to accessibility. To the bottom of that, you'll see accessibility shortcuts. You can click on color filters, and that will mean that the triple click on the side button will do color filters. Set that, go back out, and then what you should be able to do is triple click and get that black and white effect. Fantastic little trick. Thank you, Matt Diavella. Check it out, everyone. Let's carry on. The next idea I want to talk to you about is filtering your email. So I use Gmail, and this process of cleaning out my inbox, which we all talk about wanting to do, did actually take me 3 whole days. It was pretty endless. That said, the last 4 months having done it have been absolutely so much easier because of it. So whilst it can seem like a big overwhelming thing to take on in the first place, once you get into the process, you can do a little bit at once at a time. It's incredibly brilliant to clear out your inbox, and then essentially what happens now is my inbox only receives the really important, new and kind of purposeful emails that I want to see. So important stuff about projects, emails from actual people that I know, and things like subscriptions, banking notifications, receipts. They all filter past my inbox, they don't go into it, and they go into the folders on the left. So you'll see here, there's actually quite a lot that I haven't looked at. So I've got 77 for my subscriptions, 17 for film and YouTube. But what happens is you can essentially create a filter, and if I go here, look, film and YouTube, I've got Canva, Adobe Creative Cloud. I don't look at them. Yeah, if I want to now just look at what I've got there, I can do it in one go. Actually, I'm not gonna look at any of those. I can just multi-select them and they're all like that. If I go back to my inbox, I've only got 3 things in there. And it means that as stuff comes in, I can process it. Now, the simple thing to do is to actually add filters as and when you get new emails. So for example, I've recently signed up to Real Ideas, a really cool initiative in the UK for supporting entrepreneurs. So I'm going to click onto this and I'll show you exactly what I mean. On the right here, I can click the dots. I can go filter messages like these, so it knows it's anything from that emailing list. I'm going to create filter. I'm going to apply the filter to the 6 matching conversations, so everything from Real Ideas will now go into that filter. And I'm going to click skip the inbox, so it doesn't go into the inbox, and I'm going to click apply the label. You can see here actually I've got all of my subscriptions, security alerts, so on and so forth. I'm actually going to put it under my general subscriptions thing, and anything in the future will skip the inbox and go there. Doesn't mean I don't see it, it just means I can check it when I want to and batch the task. So create filter, and there they all are. So if I now go back to the inbox, you'll see it's gone. If I go down to my subscriptions, you'll see there it is at the top. And I have folders, again, this was inspired by Matt Diavella, got things for receipts, things I want to action. So there's a folder for things that need doing, that I can just put a brief tag on. And incoming projects I use for strings of emails that are important and that I want to keep together so that the stuff I'm currently working on will sit in that folder. So check it out, it's worth doing. It takes a while to get through the filters, but then you end up with that wonderful thing there, which is very, very little information. So this one's a really simple idea, but it goes an incredibly long way. No mobile devices in your bedroom. Instead, I'd replace it with one of these, an alarm clock. Now, I used to use that excuse that I needed my mobile in my bedroom to use as an alarm to wake me up. It was rubbish, really. The real reason was it gave me an excuse subconsciously to be able to check it in the morning as soon as I woke up and look at it right before I went to bed. I also sleep a lot better if I've set my screen time to just shut down at 9, 10 p.m. and I don't look at the screens. I'm not very good at it. Trust me, I say all of this, it takes real commitment to be able to kind of train yourself to stop looking at your screens later in the day, but it's well worth it. So get yourself an alarm clock, don't give yourself an excuse. The other reason is, I need to charge it. A really good little trick that a friend gave me was basically create a charging station, one place, preferably in a cabinet or a cupboard, where you charge all your devices. You put them away, they're out of sight, they're charging, there's no reason to have them with you in the evenings, and you can pick them up purposefully and intentionally when you actually want them. And one more thing, if you're wondering what this is, it's well worth a read. I found it to be really, really great as a way into simple living. One of the best tools I've found is setting yourself reminders and limits on not only when you look at your phone, but also what apps you look at and how much. So on here, what I can do is go into settings, if you're on Apple, go to screen time, you may well be aware of this, and set specific app limits. So you'll see what I've done in this is I've limited Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, the social media networks I tend to use, to 15 minutes every day. Just means that once I've reached that limit, a little sand timer comes up and says you've reached your time limit. Now, of course, it's really easy to go past that. I think that's where things like the black and white screen come into use really effectively, and also managing your time. So if you've not seen my videos on building a productivity system in Notion, do check those out. I'll put links in the description below. One of the things that I've done is build a weekly planner. And this has a really brilliant focus to help me stay present, be in the present world, in the real world a little bit more. And the reason that is it helps me batch task my time. And this idea is really key, I think, to focusing yourself away from distractions. So if you take a little look at my home screen here, you'll see I've got weekly planners right at the top of my dashboard. If I click on the little arrow for freelance week, there I have by every half an hour, now that sounds extreme but it's incredibly useful, I have little tags which I can put in depending on what you want it to be, so they're all kind of pre-written once you've already written them, so you can just drop them in for what I'm doing. So this is like a freelance and YouTubing week, so I've got a little bit of freelance work on and I'm working on videos for YouTube. This has been particularly while we've been during the COVID period at home quite a bit. So you'll see I've color coded it, so yellow is my free time, blue is my freelance work, red is the YouTube stuff. I have a specific time for processing my inbox at 11, and I have another one, email and zeroing my task inbox at 6. And what I'm trying to do is batch task the time that I'm looking at my emails. The other great thing about this is you can use this how you want. So a lot of people I know have been starting to do this kind of thing with how they manage their social media, going, this is the time that I'm allowed to look at my social media. So one of the options, of course, is to use those things like time limiters, but also if you can plan your time like this, it's really, really helpful. A second thing to think about when we're talking about managing our time and staying present, if you can set yourself the first 3 actions that you're going to do the moment you wake up, it will give you the basis to build a really positive habit of a really good morning routine. Now, I'm not personally someone who gets up really early all the time. I know that can be incredibly useful. There are people out there who swear by it. But for me, it's the idea that the moment that I wake up, I've already planned what those first 3 actions, those first 3 things I'm going to do in the day are. And that stops me laying in bed, flicking through whatever I'm flicking through, or going on and to YouTube and watching something. It means that I get up and I do the first 3 things. And the weekly planner, it's been the kind of thing that's allowed me to have that 30 minutes every morning where all I'm doing is not worrying about any work or anything I've got to do. And often it's sitting out there in the new garden, very exciting, and having a coffee. Those kind of commitments to making time to be present can go a really long way to making us feel more intentional about the way we're living our lives. The other tool that's really helped me stay in the moment and be present is building a second brain that allows me not to worry about what I'm doing or what I'm not doing, and find a system of identifying the next action with anything that's on my mind so that I'm able to either do it, defer it within a system that I trust, my Notion system, or delegate it to someone else. Now, this all comes from David Allen's concepts in the Getting Things Done method. And he talks about the idea that if we're holding on to an idea or we're worrying about something, it's usually because we haven't identified what needs to happen next, the next step. And that is really based on 2 simple ideas. An inbox, where you can put tasks when they come up. This is mine. I can just pop it in here, click, type it in. It might be email producer, yeah. And then once it's been allocated to a project, it will go off into the system and I know it will come back to me if I've set a date or whenever it needs to be reviewed. And I also have a place for ideas, my bibliography of inspiration. And those 2 places allow me to identify the next action for something to be done. So I'm not living in the past worrying about what happened or worrying about the future and what I'm going to do next. It's long been the case in the modern world that we as humans create our lived environment. We collect objects that matter to us. We surround ourselves with the things, the furnishings and decorations that make us happy. We go out hunting for the next table, another side lamp, the next bit of tech gear that's going to make our lives quicker, easier and more productive. But I think one of the big problems in terms of staying focused and avoiding distraction is finding out how we can avoid the hunt, the urge to acquire new things. So this is a final thought on conspicuous consumption. You join me looking at Amazon. It's something I do quite a bit, and I noticed, this is my little list here of camera gear, the gear acquisition syndrome is quite strong at the moment, and it's made me think a little bit about this. One of, I think, the biggest distractions and the challenges of the modern world comes from, I think, a very old instinct in humans, which is to hunt and to gather. I get that feeling, I don't know if you've had it, where you can spend hours searching Amazon for things or walking around shops, around the mall, around the shopping centre, and we don't really know what it is we're looking for a lot of the time. Conspicuous Consumption is a book by Thorstein Veblen, and it's a old book about the rise of the leisure class and the increased interest in the gathering of wealth and objects and things to define your place in the world and your status and how you think about who you are. I think a lot of us are seduced by that, and I certainly am someone who's done that. But what I found incredibly brilliant about minimalism and people like Marie Kondo and the finding the things that spark joy is by filtering the things and the lived environment that we surround ourselves with, because it allows us to create spaces, environments, and create approaches to how we think about the things that we put around ourselves. Just by taking things out of your life, by sorting through and filtering what really matters to you, I found that need to go and find something, to go and hunt, to go and surf through Amazon and build these lists, has been dramatically reduced. So it's something to look into, and maybe we can talk about that more on this channel. Well, there you go. Focus and organise your time, declutter your spaces, and filter the content you receive so that you actually receive it in the way you want to. I hope that's been a useful video to you. If you found value, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already. It's the easiest way to stay connected with the channel, and it's the best way to help this content rise to the top to make sure more people see it. And I will eventually get round to talking a little bit more about how I film these videos, because I know a few people are interested in that. Listen, thank you very much for joining me. Get off your device, go outside, have a wonderful time, and whatever happens,